My name is Lean Tran Layton, and I'm a practicing immigration attorney in the United States. And I'm an immigrant myself. Throughout my life and career, I've had the privilege of meeting people from all over the world who have immigrated to the United States. And I've heard some amazing stories, and I want you to hear them too. These stories will make you feel a range of emotions, but most of all, I hope you will be left feeling inspired. Welcome to the Immigrant Voice. Welcome to the show, and thank you so much for agreeing to be on this. I'm so excited to hear your story. So for our listeners, why don't you just give us a brief introduction of who you are, what your name is, where you live?
Hello, and thank you for asking me to be a part of this. I'm super excited to have these conversations with you. So my name is Chau. It's wow, but with a J sound, Chau. And I currently live in Austin, Texas. I actually grew up in Utah, though. My family migrated here from Vietnam. We were actually boat people. And so we were refugees from Vietnam, and then we had to make a stop in Indonesia, which is actually where I was born, in a refugee camp hospital in Galang, Indonesia. And then we came to the United States when I was a month and 10 days old. And I grew up in Utah. And we were sponsored by a Mormon family there. So
when you said you were sponsored by a Mormon family, can you tell me a little bit more about how that all worked back then?
So at that time, when the United States was accepting refugees from Vietnam to come into the country, there was an organization, and I don't remember the name of it, but there were families that would sponsor refugees and like help them get on their feet. So we lived in their basement, actually. And I think that my parents paid rent to them after they helped us find jobs. So they helped my parents find jobs. I'm not sure how many years we lived with them, but it wasn't that long, because I remember growing up playing as a toddler in a different home than the pictures my parents showed me when I was younger. I was like, I don't remember that place. They're like, of course not. You were a baby.
And that reminds me of something with, as far as like a little bit about me, is so my uncles came here first, and they were sponsored also by a Mormon family. And for a while, we would go over to their sponsor's house for Thanksgiving for years and years. And I think my uncles actually still go over there for Thanksgiving dinner. And
wow, that's so great.
Yeah, I think it's really cool.
I wish that we would have kept in contact with our sponsors. My mom and dad, I think I was probably like 2 or 3 when they moved out and got their own place. They got an apartment in some shoddy area downtown Salt Lake. And my mom talks about our sponsors, and I don't know if I'm saying the name right, but my mom says it's Edie is the name of the lady that helped sponsor us. And she says all these great things about her, but they didn't stay in touch. And so I wish that they had, because I would love to speak to our sponsor and say thank you for everything that they had done for us.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember my uncle's sponsors' names were Debbie and Steve. And they were always very sweet. And I haven't seen them in, probably at least 15 years. It's been a long time. But yeah, I think it's such an awesome thing that those families did for us.
Yes. I'm so grateful for all those families that sponsored all, because there's a lot of Vietnamese refugees that are in Utah, even actually. Yeah. There's a huge population of them in Utah. And so I'm very grateful for all those kind people.
Yeah, definitely. So I know that you were just a baby when you came here. So you probably feel very much like an American, right? Because
I'm this
is all you remember.
I assimilated because I grew up here. I feel pretty Americanized. People like to call me a banana or a Twinkie, right?
Yep, I've heard that term before.
Right. And I don't know if you're just making an off comment and you're trying to be funny, or if you're trying to insult me, but I'm Asian American. I grew up in the United States. I'm very, very Americanized. So for those of you who don't know what banana or Twinkie means, it's a slang term referring to Asian people who are yellow on the outside, but white on the inside. You clearly don't look, white or necessarily quote unquote American, but you feel very American at the same time. And so, when you were growing up, tell me about a time when you remember that you and your family were immigrants. It could be something where an incident where somebody said something to you, or an incident where somebody made you feel a certain way, whether negative or positive, that you remember. Well, I remember like because I came here when I was a baby, like practically an infant still, right? A month and 10 days is still considered infant, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so since I came here when I was an infant, growing up, I think because I just looked different, we spoke a different language at home. My parents they were really, really good about speaking at least one language. I wish that I would have learned how to speak Chinese and Vietnamese because that's where my lineage is, but we only grew up speaking Vietnamese at home. And so they tried really hard to make sure that we stayed very culturally attached in the home. But outside the home, everybody was different. And like when I would go play with my friends, if they invited us inside their house, that was a big deal because like in my culture, we don't just invite friends over to come play inside whenever, right? And then their house smelled different than my house and everything was different. And they were super affectionate with each other. And my family, Asian, not like Asian parents don't love their kids, but they're very strict and non-affectionate. Like there's no PDAs in Asian families. So like I just knew from the get-go, as soon as I could start recognizing the differences, that we were different. So I knew that we weren't from here right away. Wasn't anything that anybody specifically treated me or said to our family. Everybody was always really nice. I mean, I grew up in Utah. Everybody's super nice there. But yeah, I think that I just all along that we weren't from here.
Mm-hmm. And how did it make you feel? Did you ever feel left out of things, like an outsider?
Yeah, because we didn't get to do a lot of the same things that other kids did. And because we grew up probably, I'm not sure what the specific line of poverty where that's at, but we were really, really close to it if we weren't under it. So it was hard growing up knowing, like, also too, my parents couldn't speak the language. They're working and they could speak English well enough to get along, but it was a lot of like, they couldn't come to school and do things because they didn't want to interact with other people that spoke English because they didn't speak English very well. Also, they were working all the time, so they couldn't come to school functions or take us on family vacations or anything like that. I felt like it was harder because the economic conditions that we were in. And I don't remember anybody specifically treating us in a negative, bad way, like on any of our neighbors or teachers or community. But there were instances where strangers would make you feel weird, like my mom would. Okay, so we would go to the grocery store and like my mom would always be like, don't touch anything, stay close. And like when I would play, she'd be like, no, you can't go off and play because they're watching us. They're watching us to make sure that we don't do anything wrong. They're watching us to make sure that we don't steal anything. And so I'm like, okay, like I couldn't just be like a normal kid. Like I felt like I was always underneath the magnifying glass by either my parents to make sure that I was behaving properly. And if it wasn't my parents, then it was like everybody else was watching me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was crappy. It was kind of crappy to realize that because ever since she told me that, I noticed when people watch me.
So it's still stuck with you. It's
sticks
with you to this day.
Even to this day. Yes, to this day. And when I walk through a crowd, like I expect people to glance and things like that, but I notably can catch it when someone's staring at me. It's because I grew up like watching out for that to kind of watch my back.
Right. When you notice that, do you feel like how does it make you feel inside? Is it like a negative feeling or is it just kind of like, oh, okay, I know they're watching me, so, oh, well, whatever.
I think that at this point in time, because I've been dealing with it my whole life, that now it's just something that I notice, I make a note of it, and then I just move on with my day and I don't let it affect me. When I was younger, I didn't like it. I felt like, I was like, why can't they just ignore me like they're ignoring all the other little kids? Just because I have black hair and dark brown eyes and yellow skin, why do they have to make a special note of making sure that I'm not in trouble, that I'm not, breaking rules or like stealing things or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
So it did make me feel uncomfortable. It felt like I was always under inspection. Like at any point in time, somebody could to be like, you don't belong here. What are you doing here? That's what I always kind of in the background anticipated when I would see people watch me.
Like with your parents, do you feel like they still have that same mentality today?
Unfortunately, I think that they do. Like my parents have grown a lot, like a lot over the past 40 years that we've been here in the United States. But they still have the stigmata or whatever you want to call it of being an immigrant because they still don't speak the language 100% fluently. Like they can get along for the most part and they're okay. But I think that they've always been and always will be suspicious of Caucasians or just non-Asian people. They're even suspicious of other Asian people sometimes. So yeah, I don't think that they will ever get over it. They won't ever just be able to just brush it off and move on like me.
So with your parents, do you remember growing up, what were their expectations for you?
Well, pretty typical, and it falls straight into the stereotype that everybody has is you go to school, you get straight A's, then you go to college and you also get straight A's, and then you have to go to school for something that's going to lead you to a career that's going to be successful. And in my parents' terms, successful meant you needed to find a job that was going to pay you a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And then after that, of course, get married and then have kids and then turn around and support your parents. And I'm like, wait a minute, you have 6 total kids. So I might not have to worry about doing all that stuff, you know? So it's not having other siblings because they did end up having families and having the traditional Asian wedding and having kids. So pretty much almost all the pressure is off of me now. Every once in a while, I still get one of those like, you know, you're not getting any younger, Chau, you know? Aren't you going to get married and have kids soon? And I'm like, well, listen, my goal in life is not to procreate. So I think I'm doing okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So what did you think of their expectations? Like, how did you take them?
Oh, I was super rebellious.
Okay.
To be honest, part of it, I believed in a huge part of it. I was like, you guys struggled to come here to the United States and I have the opportunity to go to school and to make a better life. And so I'm going to go to school and I'm going to do well in school and I'm going to finish college and I'm going to, you know, graduate on the dean's list and do everything that I need to do to make my parents proud. But I didn't want to go to school for accounting or finance or being a doctor or an attorney. I didn't want to do what they wanted me to do. So I did it partially. I went to college, but I go for film. So I have a film degree instead of a pharmacy degree like my sister or something like that. And so like I made them proud enough. They're like, yeah, she graduated school, but she went into school for film. So they're like, what?
I mean, what do you think, like, how much of your life do you think aligned with what your parents were hoping?
Oh, I think I don't even meet the 50% mark. Because that's the last thing that I did to that. I mean, it was in my own self-interest and best interest as well, but graduating college was the only thing that I did to please my parents. Everything else in my life I've done to please myself. And I'm very indecisive at times. And so it's been a huge roller coaster. Life has been that way for me. But that was the last time I tried to do something, because at one point in time, I almost didn't even want to finish school because I was like, I don't need a degree to go work in film, you know, and I'm a smart person. I have a full-time job. As I was going to school, I had a full-time job. I was like, so I don't need a college degree to work full-time and be successful and earn money and pursue my dreams. But I did it because I felt like, one, it would be better for me in the long run to have a degree, to have a college degree. That's going to set me a little bit apart from other people. And 2 was because my parents really, really wanted me to graduate college.
Right. Did you guys ever get into fights about it?
Believe it or not, they tried to convince me for, like, we wouldn't like, it's really not fighting. It's more so me listening while I get lectured. Because in my family, and I think it's very similar to the whole culture, but specifically in my family, when my parents were mad at me for something and they were yelling at me and they were lecturing me and then they asked me a question, if I didn't respond, then I wasn't listening and I was being disrespectful by not paying attention to them. But if I did respond to their question, then I was being disrespectful for talking back to them. How dare I talk back to them? So it was really more just so like, I would just sit back and absorb the lecture. And then, but I'm like number 5 out of 6 kids.
Mm-hmm.
So my brothers and sisters before me, bless their hearts, had to struggle a lot more, and they fought a lot more with my parents than I had to. So I think by the time they got to me in college, my parents were like, we really want you to do this because this is what we think is best, and you should listen to us because we know more than you, and we brought you to this planet. You know, my mom literally has said to me before, she's like, I put you out there so I can put you back in. I was like, no, don't. Don't talk about stuff like that. That's weird. You know, like she did say that in Vietnamese.
That's so funny. Like, put me back where, Mom?
Yeah, exactly. So I know you're not going to snuff me out of existence. So that at that point, like with my parents, like I feel like they figured that they got the best that they can get from me regarding college. And they're proud of me for having graduated college. And they're proud of me because I have a successful career now that has nothing to do with my degree at all whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
But they're okay with it. They came to terms with it because they saw that I have a good head on my shoulders. I can take care of myself. I'm independent. I don't have to run home to mom and dad to save me ever.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not super happy about it. They just come to terms with it. And they are proud of me for being an independent, successful woman living on my own, you know, and they are proud of me in those regards, but they're not necessarily proud of my bachelor's in film studies degree.
I mean, I think ultimately it's like any parent, they want their kids to be happy and successful. And even though you may not have gone like the stereotypical, you know, path of an Asian immigrant, I'm sure they're proud of you and of everything that you've accomplished. So I think that's really cool.
Thank you very much for saying that. And I would like to think so. I mean, I tell my parents whenever something comes up and it starts to sound like they're getting a little negative or whatever. And I'm like, hey, at least I'm not a drug addict, nor am I a drug dealer.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I don't hurt people. I actually help people. I work for a nonprofit. So I'm helping school-age children all across the state of Texas every day. So I think that they're proud of the way I turned out, even though it's not necessarily the way they would have liked it. So thank you for saying that, though. I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. And like I said, I bet if someone were to ask them, like, are you proud of your children? I'm sure that they are. And what you have all achieved is probably something that they would have never been able to do if they were still in Vietnam or if you all lived in Vietnam still. Right?
Absolutely. That's 100%. I agree with you there. Cause that comes to like, I have to remind myself sometimes when I'm like getting down on my parents for how they brought us up or whatever. And I just have to think, God, you know what? You did not have to go through what they went through, Chau. And what they went through was really, really, really tough.
Mm-hmm.
I have to like remind myself that, you know, they were mean and hard on us, but not because they didn't love us, but because they wanted us to be good and have a good life and, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's a good segue into the next question that I have for you. So what's something that used to embarrass you about your family growing up, but now like looking back, you're like, oh man, I'm really happy that this is how they were?
Well, growing up, we were, you know, near the poverty level. So I was on free school lunch with school. Like I never got to go on any, the school trips, no summer camp. We didn't have money growing up. And it was embarrassing for me because kids would be like, what'd you do this summer? Oh, and other kids would be like, oh, I went to Disneyland. Oh, I went to Disney World. You know, I went to Lake Tahoe, whatever. And my thing would be, I helped my dad in the backyard. I did yard work all summer long.
Yeah.
Or I helped him remodel the basement or something like that. Like we never, not once throughout my entire childhood did we ever take one family vacation. And we never got to have name brand things. And I had to literally my mom made clothes for us, and I had a matching outfit that matched my little sister. Okay. So we were twinsies, and she's 5 years younger than me. And then we also matched the curtains in our living room because my mom, I'm not lying. My mom she bought fabric to make curtains for the living room, and we needed clothes. So she's like, I'm going to buy enough fabric to make them clothes too. So yeah, it was like my outfit, Fee's outfit, and then the living room curtains. We were all the same. And so it was embarrassing. Yeah. When you're younger, you know, you can never bring lunch to school. You can never go to extracurricular activities because you don't have money, or your parents are working and they don't have time to come support you and things like that. So it was a struggle growing up that way. But now, like, I'm so proud of my parents for struggling. I'm really glad that they weren't the type of people that would get into debt just to keep up appearances, just so that their bratty little kids could have the same dolls as the other kids and things like that. My dolls came from Desert Industries. They came from the DI. They were all secondhand or given to me by like stuff that our sponsor had given us, you know, like those were the toys that we kept. And so it was hard, but I'm really proud of us having overcome the adversity of living in poverty and being an immigrant family. And I mean, my parents, they worked 2 jobs at minimum wage. You know what minimum wage was back in like the 80s? $3.25 an hour.
Yeah.
And they raised 6 kids on minimum wage. So yeah, we were poor, and it was embarrassing to not have the money, but I'm proud of my family and of my parents for struggling and instilling the value that my brothers and sisters and I have now, that money is important and you work hard for your money. And, you know, like, you don't have to worry about keeping up appearances and things like that, as long as you survive and you take care of you and your own, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm proud that we didn't grow up with money. I'm proud that we struggled because it made us all who we are today. And I think that my family's pretty great.
Yeah, definitely. Just watching your parents struggle, like, what do you think was the greatest lesson that you got from just growing up and just watching them struggle, but still working hard and doing whatever it took to make sure that you guys were always taken care of? You had food, you had shelter.
I think that's what it is like the perseverance is the lesson that I took from them. I mean, they've given me many, many lessons, but I think that would probably be the biggest one, because it was like, yeah, you're struggling, but if you keep working at it and you keep trying, you don't give up, you can make a better life for yourself. You can make a better life for your family. And so like, there's been a lot of times in life, even as an adult, where I'm just like, oh, life is so hard. Why am I doing this to myself? I just want to give up and like not do this anymore. But then I think to myself, oh my gosh, well, if my parents could raise 6 kids and on $3.25 an hour, you know, like, and they didn't even have a car. They only had 1 car. So like, they would have to share the car, or my mom would have to lug all of us kids into the bus with her whenever we had like a doctor's appointment or anything like that. Like, just knowing that they were able to do that, and that's in my blood, it's in my genes. I'm like, I can do this. I can do this, Chau. Your parents could do this. You can do this. This is so much easier than bringing children to the United States on boats and getting attacked by pirates. You know, like, this is way easier than that.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I know. It's like, you know, I'm a parent and I have 2 little ones, and there are days when I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. And it's a struggle to like keep everything together and balance everything. And there's really no such thing as balance, I don't think. But then I'm like, okay, so my parents came here with 2 little kids, $100 and clothes. Like, they had nothing, no English, like nothing. So I'm like, all right, they managed to do all right. And so I, you know, same as you, I just think back like, okay, it will be okay. You will figure it out.
Yeah.
So.
And they didn't have all the tools and the support that we have now. Yeah. I can't even imagine. I would have fallen apart if I had to go through what my family went through. Yeah. I'm like, thank goodness I was a baby. And the weird thing is, I was like, through all the struggle, they still had time, because we left Vietnam. I wasn't a part of the family. I wasn't even conceived yet when they left Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
And they had to go on boats. They had to travel on boats to get to the refugee camp island. And they initially had tried to go to Malaysia, but Malaysia stoned, like threw stones, literally from the dock, threw stones at their boat
Oh,
and would
wow.
not let them dock into the Malaysian dock because Malaysia was tired of accepting Vietnamese refugees. Like they were just like, we
Wow.
don't want you anymore. And so they had to go to a couple of islands, and then we ended up in Galang. And I guess during their journey is when they found time to make me. So, and then I was born. And my mom told me that actually there was a flight to come to the United States before I was born, but they wouldn't let her fly. They said, this is what she says to me, and I don't know if it's true because I have absolutely no documentation or word from anybody else. But she said that there was an opportunity to fly to the United States before we actually came here, but the airlines refused to let my mom fly because they didn't want to be financially responsible for me if she went into labor on the plane and had me on the plane, because then I would be an airline baby. And I don't really know what that means, but apparently
Right.
in her head, it means that the airline is responsible for me for the rest of my life. And that's why they wouldn't let come to the United States. So I couldn't be born in the US and be a US citizen. I had to get naturalized.
I see. That's really interesting.
Yeah, I was like, is this true, Mom? Or are you just saying this to make me appreciate you more?
That's so funny. So, what would you say are your proudest accomplishments so far? So, obviously, from where you and your family started to where you are now is probably very different, right? It's a very,
Yeah. It's really weird. And I feel so superficial when I think about it because I'm like, dang, there's nothing that I could ever do that's going to be as grandiose as bringing a whole family of children. Like my brother when we left Vietnam, my brother was only 8, and then by the time we got to the United States, he was getting ready to turn 10. And so they had 5 kids and my mom was pregnant, and they dragged all of us to the United States through all that crazy, scary stuff. And I'm just like, when I think about what they've done and what they've accomplished in their lives, I was like, can I be proud of myself for doing something like graduating college? That seems easy compared to what they went through. But I am proud of myself for graduating college.
Mm-hmm.
I'm proud of myself for moving to Texas and not being scared, because it's easy to just be like, I grew up in Utah, my family's here, my friends are here, I can just stay here because it's safe. And so I'm really proud of myself for picking up and, going to Texas and actually planting roots here and building a life here without any of my family. Like I completely came out here anticipating that I would be out here living solo. Well, I had a boyfriend at the time, but without familial support. And that's hard when you grow up in a big family, especially too, just like having your sisters and your brother there all the time. And so I'm proud of myself for doing that, because that was kind of scary. Let's see. I became a big sister with the Big Brother, Big Sister program a couple of years ago. So that's a proud accomplishment for me, because even though I'm not in the program officially anymore, I still keep in touch with my little sister. We still talk all the time, and we try to hang out, even though COVID-19 has prevented that for the last 6 months. But yeah, I was in the program. I got into the program in 2018, and she and I still keep in touch. Like we still call each other big sister, little sister. And that's a lifetime relationship that I'm hoping that we can both maintain, because, it's really cool to be able to be a mentor and a good influence for somebody who, I have no ties to or obligations to at all whatsoever. And I feel I'm pretty proud of myself for doing something like that. I ran a half marathon in Madrid.
Ooh, that's
in
cool.
Madrid. And I'm a curvy girl. And so that was a huge accomplishment for me. And I'm foraying into stand-up comedy now. And so every time I get up on stage, I'm like really, really proud of myself.
That's so cool.
1, I didn't pass out, and 2, I didn't throw up on everybody.
So tell me more about the stand-up comedy, because I think it's so awesome and so cool. So what led you into that?
Well, I think that I've always been kind of the clown in the family, class clown, whatever, at school. And I went to school for film. And so, I want to work in the entertainment industry. And what I would really like is to be able to, bring a story to life and bring people sometimes joy, just emotions, just invoking emotions. And hopefully they're all happy, fun emotions. And that's really more so for the comedy. For the acting, I would like to play any character and bring any character to life and bring any story to the big screen to share that with people. And with the comedy specifically, I am directing towards comedy because I like to make people laugh. Everybody needs to laugh. And I think that I'm kind of good at it. At least people have chuckled when I've told my jokes. People have said thank you to me for being funny, for giving them an opportunity to laugh. And that makes me feel good, you know? And so that's why I'm in comedy, because I enjoy making people laugh, because that's an escape from the day or whatever it is. If you can get a laugh out of somebody, you at least got their mind off whatever stress it was they were thinking about, and they listened to your joke and they understood it and they thought it was funny, and you gave them a mini little mental break. So that's really fun. I actually am starting a new venture. I'm doing pop-up stand-up comedy here in Austin. We just had our first show 2 weeks ago, and we're doing stand-up pop-up comedy in the park for free. So for people to just come and like listen and just picnic blanket, social distance yourself apart from other people and just enjoy a show. We did like about an hour, and everybody was really happy, and people were thanking me for putting on the show. They were like, this was so great. I haven't been out. I haven't socialized, and here I felt comfortable because we were in open air, and it was a really good performance. All the comics were funny, and then they felt good that afternoon after having gone to my show, and that made me feel great, you know, like being able to just kind of brighten people's day, even if it's just for like an hour. And that's it.
Yeah, that's so cool.
We're really excited to do another one. We're going to do a ugly Christmas sweater pop-up in December, once everybody has written new jokes and stuff like that. I really do enjoy making people laugh and getting their minds off of COVID and other stressful things. And, you know, it's just, it's a nice escape.
It is, for sure. It definitely is. So if people wanted to follow your journey or find more out about your pop-up comedy, how can they find out more?
Oh, okay. Well, if they want to follow me it's on Instagram. It's at Chau like wow, all together, CHAU like wow. And I put information. I'm new to Instagram. I'm an Instagram virgin. I don't know what I'm doing on there. So I'm hoping people will forgive me for like the random things that I do. But I put all my information for the pop-up shows on there. And it also has a link in my profile for my YouTube channel.
Awesome. So cool. All right. So last question would be, what piece of advice do you have for people who either maybe they're new immigrants here, or they're still kind of struggling with, you know, maybe dealing with parents who are immigrants and they have just different viewpoints on things? Yeah. What would you say to somebody comes from a similar background as you, as far as like maybe they're going through a hard time right now? Or
yeah, I would say not to give up on yourself. It's easy. It's so easy to just be like, okay, I've had enough. You know, I don't want to deal anymore, and then give up. And a lot of the times people think, I don't want to deal with this job or this employer or these neighbors or whatever. And then they don't want to deal with that anymore. And they think that they're just giving up the problem. But really, yeah, and that's true in some senses. But coming to the United States and like the struggles that you have to go through to make a life for yourself here, they're going to be really, really hard, but don't give up on yourself. Like, I think that you just have to believe in your ability to persevere and overcome and learn and be open to learning. Like if you're trying to do something and it's not working for you, don't like stubbornly just go bull through it. Like, because I'm saying don't give up, but like, don't give up, but also like be open to new ways to do things to help yourself. If it's a language barrier thing, and I know you're working really hard and things like that, find time to do ESL classes. There's free ESL classes in most communities. And also too, like, don't worry about what other people are saying or thinking about you when they look at you. Because I felt that way before, and I let it bother me for a long time when I felt like I was constantly being watched, you know, but they don't know you, they don't know your struggle, and they have nothing to do with you. They don't get to control your future. They don't get to control your happiness. You're in charge of your happiness. And if you want to be here in the United States, then be here. Don't let anybody scare you off. Build your life here.
Awesome. I love that. Love that. Well, it was awesome talking to you. I had so much fun. And
Yay, me too. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much for being on here and taking the time out of your day. And I wish you the best of luck with your future endeavors. And I'll be watching you on YouTube.
Yay, thank you.
Yeah.
I do want to say a couple of things, because you had mentioned something to me when we were talking about the interview, the stuff about the stereotypes for immigrants.
Mm-hmm.
When people listen to this, and I hope it's not just immigrants that listen to this podcast, but I hope other people listen to this
Mm-hmm.
an open mind, and that they can see, because there's a couple of stereotypes with immigrants that I don't like. Number one, the first stereotype is that a lot of people think that immigrants are stupid because we don't speak the language fluently. So whether we don't speak the language at all, or if we have a strong accent or whatever, people assume that we're stupid. And that's absolutely not the case. Language is not a measure of intelligence. And so that's one stereotype that I hope people will pay attention to.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other one is that there are still some people, believe it or not, in this day and age, that they don't think that immigrants belong here in the United States. Mm-hmm. They feel like we are intruding upon their country, that we are stealing all their jobs. Well, first, I have to say that this country is made up of immigrants. We literally, the foundation of starting the United States was immigrants. Like, that's the basis of this country. It's a melting pot. And so the immigrants are what make this country the United States of America. And so, like, I really hate it when people say that the immigrants don't belong here, or immigrants are willing to work hard, get sweaty, get dirty, and do whatever it takes to build a life for themselves and their family and support who they love here in the United States. And not everybody's willing to do that. Mm-hmm. That's what I want to tell them.
Yeah. I mean, my belief is that everybody should be treated with kindness and respect, regardless of if they speak the language or not. And I think just even if somebody doesn't speak the same language, I think that there's a lot of communication that can be done in like body language or a smile or gestures, and it's unfortunate that people think, oh, well, that person doesn't speak English, they're not smart. If we were to go to a country where we didn't speak the language and they spoke no English or our, whatever native language that we speak, we would have a very hard time, I think, integrating and maybe getting the jobs that we would want to get because we don't speak the language.
Exactly. And like my parents, for example, are really, 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 really smart, incredibly smart, but because they don't speak the language fluently, they have had to struggle and be disrespected and manipulated. And so it always pisses me off when people just assume that just because my mom has an accent that she doesn't understand any of the words that they're saying. Mm-hmm. And it just, that really, really makes me mad.
Yeah, I know. It is frustrating. It's super frustrating when people treat each other poorly just because they don't speak the same language. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I would say everyone be kind to each other.
Mm-hmm. Be kind and open your ears and your eyes and your hearts, because like you said, Lean, communication is not just verbal. Like, it's not just the language thing. You can find ways to communicate to people. If you're open to it, you can still find understanding. Yeah,
I think smile is a very universal, I guess, language. I don't know if you would call it that, but if you smile at somebody and they can see that it's genuine, you'll likely get a smile back and they'll know what you're doing, even though you're not speaking anything to each other.
Yeah, totally.
Well, so cool. Awesome. Thank you so much, Chau. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me on your show.
Of course. Thank you.